how you stress the importance of it. Uh, Pretty much, I mean, having the back and forth flow of a conversation, because I think that's the way you need to look at the interview, right? It's not just candidates going in there, sitting down, ask the question, you answer the question, you wait for the next question. Like, it shouldn't be robotic from what you're saying. It has to be like a conversation. Like, it's complete. And what you're saying, John, it's completely fine to ask questions like in between, right? Like, do you have to wait until, should candidates wait until the end for their interviews? Is it okay to ask questions in between?
Yeah, so I would ask. So it's a good question, Dean. So you think about it. If you went to a party, would you wait for somebody to ask you all the questions and then you respond at the end of it just seems very unnatural, right?
Yeah.
If you and I were at a barbecue and I would ask you a slew of questions, if you were genuinely interested in me, you would ask me questions in between. Right? Unless you're one of those people that only want to talk about themselves, which is great too, because then you become a great listener as you go through that process. But asking questions in between, and what you can do, and if you feel uncomfortable with doing that, you can always preface at the beginning of the conversation, hey, as we go through this, would it be okay if I ask you some questions as well?
Yeah.
And then at that point, you're setting up the person on the other side of the table to say, yeah, sure. You know what? Not a problem. I would never imagine somebody would say, no, save your questions to the end, right? Like it wouldn't be, I know we're laughing, but it seems so absurd, but we get into this mode where we think, you know what? I have to wait till the end because then it's my turn. No, yes, it's a conversation. Right. And your turn is as you go through the entire conversation. So make use of it, right? Like you only have half an hour, 45 minutes, depending on how long your interview is. Make it a conversation and say, hey, ask me a question, I'll ask you a question. Ask me a question, I'll ask you a question. Because you really want to know about the role. And there's tons of opportunity. And what I'm going to suggest, again, going back to preparation, have these questions in mind before you walk into the room, right? And if you've gone through a couple of interviews already and they haven't been very successful, then you can take from those experiences and say, hey, you know what, as I went through my last interview, and actually this is an exercise everybody can do, right? Just kind of go back and think about that last interview that they went through. Where could they have injected questions into the interview to make it more conversational?
Yeah.
And then that'll give you an indication of what kind of questions you would ask. Hey, I want to ask questions about the organization. I want to ask questions about the culture within the organization. Even doing a walkthrough through the building, you can get a pretty good idea of whether or not people are collaborative and people are connecting, because people will be not anymore. Like today we're all on we're doing video chats and stuff like that. But before COVID, you could walk through a building and you would get a really good idea on what the company culture was like. Are people sitting down? Are they talking? Are they conversing? Are they working together? Are they collaborating? Today, you just want to make sure that you're the one that can show that, right? Like the onus is on you to bring your best into the interview room with you, right? So, be prepared. Go in with a list of questions that, from your last experience, you could have brought you could bring into your next experience to make sure that you make